is it? All right. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing well myself. Today, I want to talk about having faith in the process, man. I think having faith in the process is one of the most important things you can develop. If you trust, faith is more than trust, but trust is the closest word I can get to, a synonym for faith. I also can't really define faith that well, so bear with me. But if you can trust that the process, what you're doing, is worth it and it's going to get you into a better place, then it's going to make the process a lot easier to get through. If you have faith that what you're doing is worth it, you're not going to have that stress, you're not going to have that doubt that leads to taking or making expedient decisions. Expedient means rather than sacrificing short-term gratification or short-term satisfaction for long-term gratification, you're doing the opposite. It's giving in to immediate satisfaction rather than doing something that's going to be better for you, right? So if you don't have faith in the process and you doubt that what you're doing is worth it, of course it's going to be easier to make those bad decisions. You're like, I don't even know if what I'm doing is going to be any good for me, so I might as well just go watch TV. I might as well just eat this croissant, this Twinkie, whatever unhealthy thing, whatever expedient decision, whatever bad choice. It makes it so much easier to do that when you doubt the process, when you just don't have faith, right? You gotta know that even if you're in a moment where you feel like what you're doing is like, okay, this isn't gonna work out, right? You feel like this isn't worth it. You have to tell yourself deep down, like, no, I know that this is going to progress me. This is practice. Even if I'm not great right now, even if I'm not great at what I'm doing right now, it doesn't matter because it's practice. And then next time I'll be a little better. And then the time after that I'll be a little better. Sometimes it's not even linear. Sometimes you're going to be down here. And that's when it's the low points usually. Because like I said, it's here, then down, then up, then down, then up. That's the progress, right? It's usually on those down points where you feel like, okay, what am I doing this for? I'm not even as good as I was last week. I'm not even as good as I was yesterday. So obviously it's not working. But that's when you have to have the most faith and understand, like, you have to understand that it's not completely linear progress. You have to understand that some days you're worse off or you're just not as good at what you do as usual. You're not, if it's like a certain skill that you're working on, like, I guess for example, for me, my wrestling, some days I feel better than others, and it's on those days that I don't feel that strong that I want to call it quits early, which is the opposite of what I should do. I feel like on days that you're not feeling as strong, you should want to work more to sharpen up those skills that you're not satisfied with, right? But it seems that our brains are kind of wired to do the opposite for some reason. But really, you have a good understanding that you're not always going to be performing at your very best, and have a good understanding that what you're doing is practice more than it is, I guess, a final performance, right? Even if, say, you're going to compete at an actual tournament, actual like football game, you have a wrestling match, it's a finals match even, for like, it's like, say it's like the state finals for wrestling, right? You go out there, you lose, but you did your genuine best that you had, and that match was still practice, right? Because you're going to have more matches. Maybe that's the last match for the year, but it's still practice. You'll have next year. Maybe it's practice for nationals later, but it's even these things that feel like, oh no, I have to be performing at my best. I have to be, this is the moment. It's not the moment. You have so many more moments ahead of you. It's literally just about doing what's going to progress you the most, right? If you think of everything as practice, even things like uh, cooking, you can think of cooking as practice. Even if you don't want to be a chef or you don't care about how good your cooking is, you can still think of it as practice, because one, cooking is boring. So if you could practice boring things, you'll get better at doing boring things and be less bored when you do them, right? Or you'll be able to get through them easier, right? Everyone has a hard time with boring things. Everyone has a hard time not procrastinating doing boring things. So you can practice even things that seem pointless, because it's usually pointless things, or things that feel pointless, that you need to be able or have discipline to get yourself to do. So there's really, like, if you could really think of every single thing you do in life as practice, because you're never at mastery. You're never at mastery. You're not going to get there. I mean, there's a dog. You're literally just gonna keep progressing until the day you die, unless you like start slowing down. But that's, why would you do that? Some people do. A lot of people start slowing down. I'm not gonna do that. You shouldn't do that. But literally think of everything as practice. Everything. This video right now, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. I have flaws. There's things that in my head I'm like, there's points that I want to make that I'm not ready to make yet. I'm not ready to articulate those thoughts and connect those ideas and put them out into the world, because I just don't understand them well enough to put it together, or I just don't have the right words. But I understand the idea, but like, you know, I just can't put it together yet. So this video, it's not perfect. The next video, it won't be perfect. There will never be a video that I make that'll be perfect, but each of them are still important. Each of them they're not supposed to be perfect works of art. They're supposed to be something. They're supposed to be the best that I could do in that moment. And they're supposed to develop me into being able to do this better in the future. And that's really all that matters. I shouldn't let myself be anxious and be so hard on myself when I stutter or stumble on my words in the video, or blank if I forget what I'm gonna say, and then I just kind of go like days off for a second and come back. Like, none of that matters. None of that matters at all. None of how you're performing in the particular moment matters at all, as long as you're doing as best as you can and giving as much effort as you can. So why are we so hard on ourselves? Why is it just doesn't matter? If you really just think of everything as practice, you should be happy with how you do, as long as you put in as much effort as possible. Because if you're putting in as much effort as possible, you're going to get as much out of it as possible. You get what you give. That's how it works. That's literally just how it works. If you understand that concept, you will be much more at peace. And if you're much more at peace, you're going to be much more focused on the task at hand. And if you're more focused on the task of at hand, you're gonna get more out of it. So it's kind of like a little loop, right? You put as much effort as you can into it, and that builds peace, and then peace builds your ability to put as much effort as you can into something, and then you keep building from there. It's momentum. It's continuous. It's a cycle. It's good for the soul. It's good for the heart. It's good for the mind. It's good for your success. It's good for everything. It's good for everything. Just keep pushing forward. Keep doing your best. Have faith that what you're doing is worth it, even if it's at a down point, right? Like I said, ups, downs, even if you're on an off day and you feel worse than normal, if you feel like you're performing worse than normal, it is still an important piece of the puzzle. Don't give up early just because you're doing bad. And also remember that it takes time to warm up, right? So say for me, right? For me, I'll get into a wrestling practice, then go all the way to the end. Then at the end of the wrestling practice, like, oh dude, I'm really starting to get this move down. I know, like, that's exactly how you do it. I'm gonna get so good. And then I come to the next practice, I try that move, and I'm frustrated because I'm not good at it anymore, or not nearly as good. I had it crisp. I knew how to do it perfect before, right? And then throughout practice, I warm up, and then I get it back to where it was, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I have to warm up, I forgot. All that getting frustrated, all that did was made it so I couldn't focus as much on my technique, because of course emotions make it harder to stay present. So remember that it takes time to warm up as well. That's another little piece of this that I'm gonna add, a bonus piece of information for you. All right, thank you guys for listening. Go make sure you guys have faith in the process, because the process, it works. Just work hard, stay hard, stay disciplined. Go get that shit.